Everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So there are so many students who are requesting this topic called as training process from human resource management. I have already covered a lot of lectures on training, the difference between training and development, different methods of training. So you can get all those lectures from the description of this lecture. So let's begin this topic that's called training process. So the first question is, what is a training process? So we can define training process as a series of steps that needs to be followed systematically to have an efficient training program. We all know that companies do conduct training programs for their employees on the regular basis. They could be a managerial staff, it could be non-managerial staff, it could be your labor, it could be anyone who is working in the organization, just because to make sure that the organization is ready for any kind of change. That is what the training is all about. We are ready, we are providing training, we are making them learn about something which you expect to happen in future. And that is the reason why it is all about a series of steps. That means you need to follow it very systematically, and you need to be very sure that why you are conducting, who will conduct it, who will attend it. All these questions need to be answered at a very initial stage. So this is what we called as a training process. So it has basically 6 steps. Let's talk about those steps first. So the first step is called as assessing training needs. The second is called as setting training objectives. Third is called select the appropriate method of training. The fourth one is called as implementing the training program. Fifth one is called as evaluating the training program. And the sixth one is called as feedback for the training. So these are the 6 steps which are mostly common and they are involved in any training process. So let's begin with the first step, and that is called assessing training needs. So what happens in this first stage, that this is mostly the starting point of all the training program. Now why I say that this step is very important. This step is very important because if you are providing training without assessing the need of the people, that means you are wasting your time. It will be only a cost, it will never be an investment, because there will be certain people or there will be certain staff which already know what you are training them. So that is very important, that you must assess that what kind of training they require, whether that particular thing is part of their need or part of their job or not. So that is one thing that is very important in this first stage. It justifies the investment of the training. I told you that there is always a debatable question that training is a cost or training is an investment. If you will not assess the need of the people and you will provide them training in which they are already trained, then it is just a cost, right? But if you provide them a training in which they are not trained, or they require it in their job, or they are requiring any kind of technological change, then it would become an investment. So that is very important in this stage. For assessing the measure the difference between the standard performance and the actual performance. So this particular stage also helps us in assessing or measuring the difference between the gap between the actual performance and the standard performance which the company is expecting. We must identify the gap, and that gap is all about need assessment, right? And this particular stage also replies to certain questions, that why do they need training, what kind of training we can provide, when we can provide that training, where we can provide that training, who will be providing the training. All these questions can be answered in the first stage only, because when you will know that what kind of training they require, then all these questions become relevant and that can be easily answered as well. Let's move to the step 2. So step 2 is about setting the training objectives. So what is setting of training objectives? The crucial task is to determine the objective of training, right? Whenever we start doing anything in management, the first thing comes to your mind, why we are doing it. What is the objective behind doing it? Because if that question is not clear, your effort may become a complete wastage. So it is important to answer that question, that what is the objective of the training which we are providing to the people. The basic objective of training is to proper match between the man and the job. A very simple objective is to match between the job requirement and the skill of the people, right? For example, if the X skill is required for a particular job, then you must train the people in that X skill so they become fit for that job. So that is one of the most common objective of training. The ultimate goal is to bridge the gap between the current and the desired performance. Obviously, company has some desired performance. They have set their standards for performance, and most of the people who are not able to achieve them, that means they require training. One of the reasons is that they are not able to achieve it because they lack training, and that is the reason why we must go for understanding their needs, and then setting up the objective and provide them training, necessary training for the job. What kind of common objectives we can have? So common objective could be they are lacking in the technology and you're providing them a technological training. They're lacking in the understanding of the organization culture. You're providing them the training on the culture. Yet there are issues related to behavior and you're providing them the training for behavior. And there could be n number of objectives which you can set for any particular training program. Let's talk about the step 3, and that is called selecting appropriate method of training. So we all know that there are so many training methods which are suitable for particular jobs. So after assessing the training needs and the selection of objectives, we must choose a suitable training methods. And we already know that there are so many methods which can help you in achieving those desired objectives. So these methods could be on the job methods as well as off the job methods. I've already covered both the lectures in detail. You can find the lectures in the description. Kindly go through those lectures so that you can understand that what kind of training companies can provide. So you can choose as per the need, as per the objective, as per the people who are getting training, that whether on the job suits to the profile or off the job suits to the profile. And then based on that, you can choose an appropriate method for the training. So this is very important to choose the right method, because if you will not choose the right method, for example, you need to provide them a practical training and you are providing them in a theory class, that will never help them. So it is always important that you provide them either into simulation or you provide them into on the job location. So that is very important that in this stage, choose the right method. Then in the stage 4, you need to implement the training program. So obviously after assessing the needs, planning objectives, choosing a particular method of training, what you need to do is to implement. So how we can implement? By arranging all the necessary resources for implementing the training program, like venue, trainers, visual pop-ups, training, etc. So you need to look into what are the various resources you require for providing training. So you need trainers, obviously you need a venue, you need trainees who are getting trained, you may be looking for some props, you may be looking for certain material related to training. It could be reading material, it could be case studies. So it could be depending upon what kind of training you are providing to them. Whatever is required for that particular training, you must arrange those necessary resources so that in this stage the training can be conducted efficiently. And most importantly, why do training programs fail? Because people don't take it seriously. One of the common reasons, people don't take it seriously. People say that, okay, जब time आएगा हम सीख लेंगे. This is the most common notion. And that is the reason why in this stage you need to be very, very sure that your objectives should be meeting to your requirement. And then that is why what is important at last, that is providing, and that is what is required in the next stage is evaluating the training program. If you are conducting anything, you need to evaluate also. So what do you do in this stage? After making all the efforts made by the organization, it is the time to check either it is useful or not. You need to assess your training program, whether that training program was useful or not, whether that training program has met the desired objective or not. For this purpose, we can conduct an evaluation process. आप complete एक evaluation process करके देख सकते हैं कि आपने training को सही तरह से execute किया या नहीं किया, उसके objectives पूरे हुए या नहीं हुए. Evaluation will tell us about the worth and the value of the training program. So you need to test the evaluation process by taking feedback. That is one of the common reason, and that is when we will be conducting the step 6 also. And what we can do, you can also assess the performance of all the trainees, because most of the companies, what they do, they at the end of the training program, they conduct certain types of tests, certain types of quizzes. Why? Because they want to check that whether the training has efficiently delivered to the people or people have understood that particular thing or not. So that could be assessed through various steps, and that is what we do in the step 5. And the last stage is taking feedback. It is very important that you take feedback from the people who were getting training in the training process. So the feedback mechanism is created in order to identify the weak areas of the training program. Obviously, there would be some good things, there will be some strengths, and there will be some weakness. It is very important to understand the weakness part, because that is where the improvement can happen in the next training programs. So we will improve these areas in future after taking feedback from the people. Sometimes the training becomes very monotonous, sometimes the training is not the trainer is not up to the mark, there could be a lot of issues which a training program can end up, and that is the reason why we need to take feedback from the people. And for this purpose, information related to classroom, trainer behavior, material and overall experience, आप इसके लिए क्या use कर सकते हैं? You can use feedback surveys also. You can conduct a design of feedback survey, and you can take feedback from the people based on trainer behavior, their knowledge, their experience and overall experience, classroom environment, the material used in the training program. You can assess each and everything that was used in the training program. So these were the 6 steps which are involved into training program. I hope it is clear to you. Thanks for watching. If you really like my channel, do subscribe, like and share. We'll be meeting in the next lecture. By then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye-bye.